Well, good morning and welcome to the MAPS 3 Citizens Advisory Board meeting of May 26, 2016. We'll call the meeting to order. I believe we have a quorum, so let's take up item number 2 on the agenda. You've been furnished with copies of the minutes of our previous meeting. Are there additions or corrections? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the April 28th meeting. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. That brings us to item 3. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 3 is the MAPS 3 Revenue and Expenditure Report for the period ending April 30th, 2016. On the revenue side, for the month, we have $9,077,674. For the fiscal year, we have $92,835,427. For total program revenue of $621,159,999. And then on the expenditure side, for the month, $7,950,010. Fiscal year, $72,178,484. Total expenditures on the program were $187,142,790. The significant items for the month are at the fairgrounds, and as you know, we have construction underway, so that takes the majority of that. Then we have park expenditures, and that is design and land acquisition, and then the river and streetcar both have about $1 million. The river is construction-oriented, and streetcar is design-oriented. And then you also have the budget obligations report for the period ending May 10th, 2016. I can answer any questions.
Well, Michael Adams, we'll start with you, our resident analyst here.
Well, no, I was just going to comment that it's encouraging that revenues are 2.4% over target for this month, which kind of reverses the trend we've seen over the last several months. So, yeah, that's encouraging. I'm not sure what caused the change, but positive.
Very good. Are there any other questions or comments on either the revenue and expenditure report or the budget and obligations report?
I will move approval.
Been moved and seconded that we approve and receive the reports as submitted. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The reports are received. David, that brings us to item 4.
Item 4 is presentation on utilities coordination for the MAPS 3 downtown projects. You know, the projects that we have downtown are unique in that they all are interrelated and adjacent to each other. So we have the park, we have the convention center, we have the streetcar that all interact, but then we also have the boulevard that's ongoing and then other things that are downtown in that area. We've asked ADG to track and help us with coordination of all the utilities that are down there. So Mike Mize is here today to show you the work that they've been doing.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Mr. Chairman, board members, before I get started, I'd like to make a request. I'd like to see if we could combine this item and the streetcar communications item, since they are related, if it's okay with the rest of the board.
Let's see, that is item 6 on the agenda?
Correct.
Is there any objection on anyone's part then? Been moved and seconded that we consider both item 4 and item 6 together. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
I appreciate your indulgence. Thank you. We've been asked to do a couple of different things, and some of the subcommittees have heard some of these parts of these presentations, but I don't think the advisory board's ever heard or seen as a whole either the streetcar communications effort that we've engaged in or the utilities coordination effort that's taking place around the park, the boulevard, the convention center, and also involves the streetcar. So we're going to make a presentation about both of those this morning. And we're going to start with Kristen Wilson, who's doing the streetcar communications effort. Sorry, Carrie, can you pull that one up? I should have talked to you earlier. I apologize. Thank you. Kristen's been out trying to be the point person with respect to all things construction related to the streetcar with all of those residents and owners in that area, and she's going to make that presentation. And then I'm going to ask Jason Cotton to come up and show you the effort that we've been making on the utilities coordination down in the area of the MAPS 3 park. I got that name right, didn't I? So I've got Jason Cotton, Kristen Wilson, and Lo Runkle, who I'll talk about in a minute, who's actually spearheading that whole communications effort. So, Kristen?
Thank you. Good morning to you all. Like Mike said, I am going to be the main point of contact for the construction process. This is an advantage to have just one person walking the route. I can give consistent information to all of the property owners and business owners. I will also be giving updates on things like traffic, so if there's street closures, if people need to change their commutes to work. For businesses, this might be letting them know if their patrons or clients need to park in a different area temporarily. For special events, it's letting event coordinators know if maybe they need to get a route recertified and in plenty of time to do so. I'm developing relationships with the stakeholders. I've been walking the route for months now and meeting everybody. This is also helpful because people can put a name with a face, so if I have to email or call later, they know exactly who's contacting them. You'll notice that managing expectations is underlined. This is my first and foremost goal, and it's really just being realistic with people and being honest with them about the construction communication. And then I'll also be developing and updating communication materials along with Gooden Group, and so this includes things like newsletters, press releases, and then updating social media as needed. I've also put together a database of stakeholders that includes a communication log that I'll show you here in a minute. And it has 320 business owners, 154 property owners, and it's collecting information like points of contact for who I'll be working with in the future, email addresses, and then their communication preferences. It also has 49 different events that are going to be taking place downtown for the duration of construction, and they could have potential conflicts with the streetcar construction. And then once we know more about the schedule, I'll be updating people with pre-construction meetings. This is a sample of my communication log, and it really does house the 320 businesses. And you'll notice that there's some color coding going on, and that's because I've also sent people the streetcar construction survey, and it asks more logistical questions like where do their employees park, if they have busier times of the year. All of that's very important to us because we want to be as least disruptive as possible during construction. And then I've also attended district association meetings with the consultant team to give presentations on the current status of the project and then to answer any questions that they might have. And then I attend City of Oklahoma City meetings like traffic management, so we're all aware of the street closures, and then city services, so any runs or festivals or parades that are happening, we can all keep track of people, and like I said, I'm talking to all of them if there are going to be any potential conflicts. And then on top of that, the consultant team and I have had other meetings with property owners along the route who might be affected by corner clips or right-of-way changes and the substation locations. And then this is just a representative list of the individual meetings that the consultant team and I have had with individual property owners and business owners. And some of these listed here we've actually had more than one meeting with. So again, this isn't everybody. And then this is an image of the streetcar route. And if you look at the blue portion of this, these are all of the businesses that either I've walked and talked to or that the consultant team and I have had individual meetings with. And then the green indicates the remaining businesses that I still need to meet with. So overall, there are a whopping 474 business and property owners along the route. And as of today, I've talked to 289 business owners and 102 property owners. And then, like I said, there are 49 events that will be taking place along the streetcar route that could have a potential for conflict. And as of today, I've talked to actually 45 of them. This says 44, but I've talked to more since then. Just, to let them know that they might need to change their route, but we're going to do our best to work with them during construction. And then, do you want Lo or Jason? So Jason Cotton will be giving his portion, and he'll talk about how we've been working together as a team, so you can see how this all meshes together. Do you all have any questions for me, though?
Questions for Kristen? Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. So this presentation that I brought with me this morning is really brief, but it's just going to tell you a little bit about the utility and project coordination that we've been doing over the last several months and what that effort has entailed. So as Mike and David mentioned, one of the complexities of the MAPS program is the fact that, in particular around the downtown park, there are a lot of projects that overlap one another geographically. So we've got, the streetcar, the downtown park, the convention center, they're all right there next to each other, plus we've got the Oklahoma City Boulevard. Now, while that would be hard enough in and of itself, we also have an issue with the project schedules of each of these projects overlapping. So with all the activities that are going on in each one of these projects, it becomes a really complicated situation in terms of trying to sequence construction and get everything done. So in order to try and address this, ADG has basically been assembling, compiling a construction schedule. And so what we do is for each one of these projects, we identify specific tasks. We develop this list by working with the MAPS office, the staff there, as well as the various design teams that are involved in each project. But the unique thing about this schedule that we're putting together is we've basically identified resources for each one of the tasks in the schedule. And those resources basically identify the specific location, either an intersection, an existing public roadway intersection, or a public roadway corridor between intersections. So each one of the tasks is basically located that way, and then also each one of the tasks also has a specific contract or project that it's associated with. What that structure basically enables us to do is to generate a report that shows us where potential conflicts may occur. And so, as you can see on this slide that we brought with us this morning, we can basically identify where two projects are basically trying to complete a task in the same area at the same time. So in this report, we basically have on the left side the location of the activity, the project associated with the first activity, the second activity, and then towards the right of the report we have the dates over which that potential conflict might be occurring. We've also included in this schedule downtown events, so the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon, Home Thunder Games, game schedules at Bricktown Ballpark, and then also private development activities. So you can see here we have the Contemporary Arts Center, other private, activities that are going on downtown that are not necessarily associated with the actual MAPS projects, but even though they have implications for what we're trying to accomplish. So kind of concurrent with that, we've also built basically a three-dimensional model of the projects, and this has basically been assimilated from a lot of existing City of Oklahoma City data. We've also been working with each one of the design teams to try to incorporate any information that they have in their designs. Now, obviously, the projects that are closer to completion in terms of design, we have more detailed information on. Projects that are just kind of getting started in design, things like the convention center, we use basically whatever preliminary information the design team can provide us. That's what we feed into this model. So the platform that we're using is really robust. We can get all the way down. You can see in the image at the bottom of the slide, we can literally get down to specific pipes, conduits, things. And so it's great for visualization. It's great for detailed analysis. It allows us to do, you'll see on the right side of this slide, we can actually do clash analysis, so we can basically look at utility projects and figure out if we've got conduits that are running into one another or pipes that are running into one another. But really the cool thing about this is that once we put the schedule together with this three-dimensional model, we can basically animate the sequence of events as we understand them today. So you'll see in this animation that we brought with us this morning, you'll see various cylinders and boxes popping up, and those basically signify construction activities. So it might be, OG&E, they're color-coded, either according to project or the type of activity. So those come on and go off depending on if it's demolition, maybe something in the model goes away, or if it's construction, something in the model appears. And so basically, we can show you, not only how the MAPS projects are going to happen over time, but also one of the things that's really useful is we can turn to any specific date in the future and try to give the MAPS office, the staff there, an idea of what the status of each one of the projects is, things that have already been built, that are going to be in place and finished, things that are on the way, or things that are in process. So it's a really powerful tool. We've basically kind of laid the foundation for this, and we're basically kind of in a maintenance process right now. So as new information comes in from one of the design teams, we feed that information into the model and just try to continually improve it and get more and more information into it. I think until a couple of weeks ago, the convention center was essentially just a box in this model, and so with the preliminary concepts that have come out from that design team, we were able to take their, in that case it was a SketchUp model, but we were able to feed that into our model so we kind of can reflect what's going on there. So that's about all I have. Mike, this thing is just going to loop, so feel free to talk over it.
I want to add a couple of things. First of all, it's really hard to overstate how complicated this project is. The animation that you just saw that runs for about 2 minutes runs through the year 2021, and we can literally stop it at any hour of any day during that time frame to determine exactly what's going on anywhere in that in this entire area. Lo, Lo has been spearheading this effort, and as I said yesterday in the streetcar subcommittee, the three people who are with me here today are an example of why I've never been afraid to hire people who are smarter than me to make sure that these kinds of issues get solved. So you want to talk a little bit about what we've been doing?
So in managing the effort, I meet with all the different stakeholders. So that would include from the front end all the different design teams, Hargraves, Populous, MacArthur Associates, Jacobs, and help communicate with all those guys. I meet with all the different city offices. We go Public Works, Traffic, Planning, of course all the different MAPS teams, all those guys, but then also throw in all the communication and private and public facility guys. So we've got OG&E, ONG, all the different communication guys, Cox, AT&T, the dozen or so of those guys that we get to coordinate with. So in pulling forth those efforts, so far we've already identified 35 miles of conduit, electrical and communication conduit alone, that's in design or under construction. We've got over a mile of storm sewer. We've got over a mile of water. So, and that's just what we've got so far. As we push further with the convention center, continue to develop projects, those numbers are just going to grow. So you can imagine in just 35 miles of conduit alone, if you run a dozen or so communication wires, you can see this is going to be hundreds of miles by the time we're done. So it's a very extensive effort. There's a lot of work going on. We've got a wonderful team helping us, and it is a very extensive effort. So, but we've had really managed to develop really good relationships with all the different communication companies. They started off very standoffish, but as we've come through, we've really developed a spirit of teamwork, and it's paying dividends. Before, communication companies would never share a trench. Now, in the spirit of working together, we can all get those guys in the same trench, which means that the prices of all this work is coming down. So we are developing good teamwork and efficiency and making the biggest bang for the buck on all this work. So it's we're seeing real dividends in this effort. So thank you, guys.
So, and Lo mentioned the team that's behind this. It's not just the folks that you see in the room. There are 6 or 7 other people back at the ADG office. We have some independent consultants working with us. David's staff has been really helpful with this, particularly Wayne and Brent and Tim and Jesse. Amanda Carpenter has been very helpful as well. We really appreciate all of the coordinated effort that we've had on this project so far. So, are there any questions? Bob?
I'm just curious, as you've done this, how much of existing utilities are you able to use, and how much is really having to be new construction?
I'm going to let Lo answer that question.
As far as existing utilities, we haven't been fortunate enough to reuse a lot. So because, for instance, in the park, you have 37 acres, and we don't want to leave anything in there because if it ever needs maintenance, we come in and tear apart the park. So the goal is to clear these areas. So as far as reusing utilities, we're not able to reuse many. But some of the things that we've done, for instance, on 7th Street, MAPS built a joint trench to help get the communication companies out of the park. saved us a significant amount of money, even though, we did spend some money on that trench. But as far as reuse of existing, there is not many. It's almost entirely new.
I mean, we've identified potentially hundreds of conflicts that may not have been, that we may not have been aware of until we actually had contractors in the ground fighting with each other over who was going to be where. So it's been a very beneficial effort. Other questions?
Sue?
One question about, as you proceed, will the contractors have a way of clicking off or checking in and, a done type thing, or in construction, or this is finished electronically with the model that you built?
We manage that. So I will attend all the construction meetings with these people and work with the contractor schedule. So we will take that information, assimilate it into our schedule, and then we provide a conflict report.
Yeah.
So
But what I'm thinking of is more, just the technology piece of them. I'm not sure contractors are in that mode, but I think it's an opportunity to help them get in that mode to communicate and say,
well,
finish,
for instance, the park utilities work that we're doing now with Matthews Trenching, they have jumped right into the spirit of the teammanship and come together and all work together. So I think with future contractors, we'll see a good spirit. Once they understand that we're here to help and we're here to work with you and we're here to help solve your headaches, as a team, they immediately recognize that and they warm up very quickly.
I just have to say I'm really proud of ADG. I
Thank
think
you.
this is phenomenal. I think it's a model that other cities are going to be knocking on your door for. And, stay here.
Thank you.
But I also really appreciate Kristen and the legwork and the communication.
We need to calculate how many miles Kristen's walked.
I'm pretty sure her Fitbit has gold for you. But that's really great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
This sheds a lot of light on how complicated this whole process is. Most of us don't realize, what's going on under the ground and all the different conflicts that are out there. So this sheds a lot of light on some humongous project to try to manage. So appreciate it.
Mike, I want to just add as well, for those of us who have a responsibility for citizen oversight, it's very comforting and important to us to know about the outreach, the effort that's being made for the outreach to all the citizens and all of the stakeholders, and the coordination of all these activities really is an important piece that we appreciate you and the ADG team really giving life to, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
We're glad to have the opportunity. Thank you. Anything else? We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, now that concludes item 4 and item 6. And David, before we go to item 5, I want to take just a moment of personal privilege here. An important part of this whole process is the connection that has been created by the council and the ordinance that created the Citizens Advisory Board, and an important piece of that is having a member of the City Council serve on this board, and we have a new one each year. And so I want to take just a moment to say welcome to Dr. Shadid. Ed, we're delighted to have you serving with us this year, and we welcome you to this board and look forward to working with you this year.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, David, it is time for item 5.
Yes, sir. Item 5 is recommend resolution ratifying and approving addendum number 1, Maps 3 Hudson Avenue Street improvements, awarding and approving contract and bonds with RDNJ LLC, DBA A-Tech Paving, $2,515,619.90. Project M3-P004A/PC-0479/WC-0895. Kind of following with the discussion we just had on the utilities, if you've been out there, you can see what we knew would happen, and that is that Hudson has become a quilt with all the trenches that have been cut in it, the holes that have been cut in it to move all these utilities. If if you remember, this project is a joint funded project with bond funds that were originally planned for Hudson Avenue, and then because of the park improvements that will be on the edge and then some of the streetcar improvements, there is within this $2,515,619, there is $317,309.95 from the park budget and $317,309.95 from the streetcar project. So we recommend approval of this.
Questions? And David, this, your presentation has been made to both the streetcar subcommittee and the park subcommittee?
They both approved it, yes. The streetcar did not have a quorum, but those present approved it.
All right. Further questions? Do we have a motion? Been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution ratifying and approving this addition. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution has been approved. That moves us to item 7 on the agenda, David.
Pardon me. Item 7 is recommend resolution approving final plans and specifications, MAPS 3 streetcar storage and maintenance facility, and authorizing the city clerk to advertise for bids to be received July 6, 2016, project M3-S006. We have today Bob Manley from Jacobs, and he's going to show you the high points of the project.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. Again, I'm Robert Manley with Jacobs Engineering, and I'm going to show you a couple of brief slides where we're at on the maintenance facility for the streetcar. We had some lofty goals to start with, and we have succeeded in tackling all of those. We've managed to incorporate the surrounding areas into our building so that it's not going to stand out and be a maintenance facility looking place that's down in the downtown area. You can see on the images that we have that we've incorporated the limestone from the building next door. We actually did find the quarry that provided that limestone back in 1930, and they actually stopped producing, but now they're producing again, and they're excited about helping us out with this. So the project it's a maintenance facility, but we wanted to make sure that it had a little more pizzazz than just a ugly building. And you can see where we've added some jewel box and parts and pieces to the building that make it a little bit nicer for the area. And we're hoping that this spearheads some future development in the area utilizing the same stone, if they do condos and that sort of thing. So early on, we had a 2.7 acre site. We've managed to utilize that entire site for current facility as well as planning for the future facility. We want to make sure that we're not just designing this for 5 streetcars today and you would have to build another streetcar facility someplace else in the future. This whole site will accommodate all the future streetcars that you will need for running on this line as well as future lines. A lot of the things that we want to make sure of, we've got employee parking, we've got the maintenance of way vehicles, which will take care of the system when it's up and operational. Those are maintenance vehicles, essentially. We have about a 22,000 square foot building. Our original program was about 21,600 or so we're a little bit above that, but we got all the functions, all the parts and pieces in there. Like I said, we've designed this for the future. We wanted to make sure that wheel truing was able to come in. They can bring in a machine in the future. We have the infrastructure for that. So that's Embark will be able to bring that in as the need arises. As I said, we've got 5 streetcars right now. We've got a 6th that was approved. So we are able to get 5 undercover easily. We can actually get all 6 undercover by bringing another streetcar into the shops area across the turntable. So in an emergency situation, if we know hail's coming, we can get all the streetcars in. As I said, the site, the facility is designed for the future. We have a lot of storage. We'll be able to store all of the wire, catenary poles, extra parts and pieces for the streetcars as, you know, as the need arises for those. We've also talked to the local trash, waste handling, recycling, and we've set up facilities for that. So here you can see we have the streetcar access off Hudson. Right now we've got 2 tracks coming in off Hudson that split into 4 tracks for the different parts of the facility, and another potential track coming off for another split for additional storage for the future vehicles. We have 7th Street where employees' visitor parking comes off of, as well as the maintenance way vehicles. And working with the fire department, we've added in a fire lane that circles the building so that they have fire access to the whole facility, as well as Embark's, one of the requests they had was if they have a big truck come in to unload, we're able to circulate those trucks around the facility and out onto Hudson. So that worked out fantastic, and you can see where we've really worked with the entire site that we have and planned for future parking, future tracks, and any of the future possibilities that we might have for storage and such. So the main building you can see up at the top of the screen is the administration functions of the project or the building. That's where you have cubicle spaces, office spaces, the general manager's office, but we also incorporated a training room, which later in design we determined that we didn't need as much lobby, so we increased the size of the training room. Embark wants to make sure that they have enough to be able to bring in police, fire facilities, and train those people in this facility to understand what the streetcar is and how it's going to operate. So on the lower side, separated from the office functions, is the maintenance building. In the maintenance building, we have a generous parts storage. That is, we've taken lessons learned from other facilities that have been constructed around the country, and the biggest complaint everybody had was we didn't have enough storage for the parts and pieces for the streetcars. So we've actually made this more generous than any of the other facilities around the country. So we should have plenty, and it's expandable. There's room to add a 2nd floor if necessary. You've got an area that is for surface inspection that has a pit. You have the heavy maintenance area. Then you have the wash bay, which is an exterior area that can easily be enclosed for future, if you decide that you need another heavy maintenance bay with future streetcars coming in. And then our storage area, which is on the south side of the building. Right now we have it as a bid add, which I'll explain a little bit more in a moment. That will be a roof over 2 potential streetcar positions where they're undercover and they're stored out there. We are also proposing to bring in a catenary line just in that location that those streetcars can charge while they're in the facility waiting to go out the next day. All the other positions, we actually do have the ability to charge the streetcars, but it's a ground plug. It's not on a catenary wire, which adds a lot of danger, having live feed wires coming into the facility. We want to try and stay away from that, and that's a lesson learned we've gotten from other facilities. So on the 2nd floor, we've got an area where they're able to take apart the top of the vehicle. They can do all the work on the air conditioner units, the pantographs, and those work platforms allow, when the streetcar comes in, for that access. When the streetcar comes in, it actually breaks 2 beams that release some electronic locks on gates up there that allow the workers to come out, do the work on the top of the vehicle. If the streetcar is not in the position, you cannot access those platforms because there are no railings on the face of that. So when the streetcar comes in, it actually creates a floor all the way across, and it takes care of the safety issues. And we've been working with the fire marshal on understanding that will be coming, and that we've taken that into account, and he's agreed that we won't be penalized when we're under construction. So, and again, we've also, to the left side, right below the storage facility, we have a mezzanine area where we have a potential for a future air conditioner unit. That way we're planning for what could be in the future, but it's not in there right now. We just wanted to make sure that if they desire that, we can accommodate it. So these are very similar to what Michael was talking about with their model, how they can look at what's coming and how the parts and pieces fit together. We do the same thing. We use a very similar platform, building information modeling. We model everything in 3 dimensions, from our ductwork to our equipment that goes in the facility, and we're able to see if there's any conflicts. And so we solve all those issues before we even go to our 2-dimensional drawings and go out to construction. So this is a great way of reducing the RFIs in the future. And you can see on the section we have everything, including equipment, and identifying where that equipment will be, how it's stored, how it works, if there's any conflicts, and that goes from the bridge cranes to the building structure to plumbing piping. So we've done all of our due diligence, and our bid documents have incorporated everything that we have found that were potential conflicts, and we've solved all those issues early on. So as far as alternates, right now we have the building, the whole site and everything priced. We identified 3 alternates that may happen if the bids come in low enough. These would be bid adds to the project. So we had, in early presentations back in our programming, we actually had some pop-up roof structures that allowed southern light to come in. They're not integral, they're not necessary for the project. So we wanted to make sure that it's a nice touch to have some daylight coming in, but it's not 100% necessary. But we wanted to keep those. We've taken the design enough that the contractor can price it, and if we can, we'll go ahead and include that in the bid. One item that we really do want to include in the bids, we're hoping our prices come in a little bit lower with the current construction pricing that we've been seeing, is the storage track roof on the south side of the building. We're estimating that's going to be about $175,000, and we think that would definitely be something we would want to include. If it's not included, it is easily added in the future. And as I mentioned, the HVAC system, the indirect direct air conditioner that we provided a space for, we provided all of the connections for, that's about $225,000. So if our bids come in low enough, we can start selecting one or 2 of these that we would like to add. So from a construction standpoint, we took our documents at 30% up to a very high level so we could get a very solid number. At that point, we figured that the building was going to be about $5.4 million. We've maintained that we wanted to come in under that, and I think we've done a pretty good job. We're at 5.375. That's what our estimate is. If you add all of the alternates, we're expecting about $5.9 million. So if we, our goal when we get bids back is to see that less than 5.3, we can select some of those alternates. As far as schedule, once we get approval to issue out our bid documents, we will be issuing those. The plan is July 1st or June 1st. We have 4 or so weeks of bidding effort from contractors. We will get the bids back on July 6th, select the parts pieces that we want, the contractor that we want. We'll come back, present that information to all the boards, and we are planning that we can be out to construction and start turning dirt in early August. So that is just kind of a brief update. We did meet all of our goals for the maintenance facility. Worked closely with Embark and with MAPS to make sure that we got everything that they needed in this facility day one, but planned that as the fleet grows, the facility can grow with that. Any questions?
Questions? Sue?
I have a question.
Yes.
What was the budgeted for this project?
The original budget was set about 5 years ago, and that was without a program. It was just, it kind of identified the site. We think, there were a couple of site possibilities, and we threw out a number that we thought it was going to be about $4.5 million. As we've developed, we took our 30% design up to a higher level so we could really give a solid number of where we were going to be at, and that came into the 5.4. That we're very, very confident that we'll be able to bring our bids in lower than that. If you look at the overall streetcar program, we are still right on track. We have ads, we have some deducts, but the whole program is still right on track.
And can you clarify for me the HVAC in the shops? Now, is there air conditioning
There is.
now?
This,
At the base?
We originally, at 30% design, had air conditioning in the shops. As we were looking at the pricing of things and we were working with Embark's current busing facility does not have air conditioner for their workmen, but they do have large fans, they have exhaust fans that pull air through, and during the wintertime they have radiant heaters that heat the space. So it will be a comfortable space to work in. It won't be an air-conditioned space to work in, which is hard to do with big doors that are always opening and closing. The air conditioner we're proposing is kind of a swamp cooler type, and it's kind of beyond what they normally would have for a maintenance facility. But it is something that Embark said, if we could afford it, we would like to see something like that in there. So that's why we're carrying it as a bid alternate.
Good, thank you.
Other questions? Nathaniel, has your subcommittee reviewed this, and do you have a recommendation?
We didn't have a quorum yesterday, but we've seen previous iterations of this, and there were no surprises, so those in attendance were supportive of it.
All right. Any other questions? Is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, Zane. It's been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. Further questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Your work. Item number 8, David.
Item 8 is a presentation on the MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center Number 1 project M3-H002. I'd like to keep you up to speed with what's going on with all the projects. We have Wes Brannon here today to show you what's going on with the Senior Health and Wellness Center Number 1. I'm sorry, I confused my projects. Ryan Eshelman is with the Senior Wellness. You'll see Wes in a minute with the Expo building.
I was looking forward to listening to the presentation. Good to see you all. This is a brief update on where we are in the construction process on Senior Center Number 1. If you've been up North Rockwell lately, you've likely seen the activity. This is a view of the site plan, which you've seen before. You can see the configuration of the building and its parking and drives, and the floor plan itself, which we visited about before, and I can certainly return to if there are any questions. Right now, the exterior of the building is working to get dried in here as we get to the end of the rainy season. You can see brick veneer going up. It's pretty much completed around the building. Stone veneer at the entrance is being completed. It may be very close at this point to being done. Work on the roof is proceeding. You can see here some of the taller volumes, some of the roof curbs for roof-mounted equipment, and the roof decking, which is being prepared for the final roof surface. You can also see work going on inside. The interior studs for the walls are being installed, and roof drain lines and other infrastructure in the interior spaces. So once we get the glazing in and enclose it, this will really pick up inside the building. You can also see the pool. We're beyond the bulk of the concrete work. Now there's tile being installed, so the finished surface of the pool is proceeding. Of course, the pool is a centerpiece of this facility. And just a view of, again, some of the exterior work on the roof and the wall connection. Also a view of the porte-cochere. You can see it there again as you look out over the finished grading that's proceeding in the parking lot. This is looking south. You can see the existing drive onto the property, and there'll be a second drive, which is just immediately left of this screen here onto Rockwell. So in the coming weeks, there'll be more of these activities proceeding and a lot more work occurring inside the building, especially as the exterior skin and windows and doors are installed and the building is able to be fully enclosed. We're bringing this month change order number 5. You can see the running total of the change orders to date. I'm sorry, I've skipped forward here. Change order 5 includes 2 items, one of which is pickleball. This is a tennis-like game that's played indoors on a court, and the operator, it's exploding in popularity around the country, and the operator has requested that additional striping be added to our basketball court, our sport court, and some equipment be purchased that will allow them to host those kinds of activities in the gym space. So pickleball is being included. There's also a warming kitchen, demonstration kitchen in the main activity space, and because it's a commercial building, the cooktop requires a hood, and the full specifications were not included in the construction documents, so the hood was not included in the bid, so this incorporates that element which is required for fire suppression and ventilation of that cooking operation. So you can see that the total amount of the change order and the running change order total to date, the change orders in aggregate are at 1.37% of the original construction contract amount. Good thing about the schedule, no additional time has been added to the contractor's schedule through this change order, so we're still holding that November 29th date for completion as of today. So that's a quick update on where we are, and I certainly welcome any questions you have about the project or the process.
Questions? All right, then. Well, we have heard the presentation, and he has explained as well the following item, which is item 9 on the agenda. So then, if there are no questions, let's move to that. That is a resolution approving the $31,000 change order that he has described. David, any comment about that?
No, sir. It's, as you said, recommend a resolution approving change order number 5, MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center, increase to $31,407.
All right. Further questions? It's been moved that we approve it. Is there a second? And seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The change order, the resolution is approved. That brings us to item number 10 on the agenda, David.
Now we'll give Wes Brand a chance to give you an update on the expo building at the fairgrounds.
You feel better about this, Wes?
I certainly do. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. I appreciate the opportunity on behalf of FSB to provide construction update for this month. As we can see the seated position of the new expo building in a graphic document here. We often use this in reference to help us understand this slide, which represents our construction documents A, B, through G as it relates to the areas due to primarily the size of the project, not necessarily its complexity. This is an aerial view looking north. You can begin to see that the building, primarily the perimeters are enclosed. We do have some openings still left as it relates to this area, primarily in area C, which is the front or the south of the building. This is an aerial view looking west. The overhead door here on the west, we don't have one similar to that on the west elevation. This is the opposing east elevation. That's primarily, we're pouring concrete in front of that this morning as it relates to the aprons. This is an aerial view looking south. You can see kind of the back of house. We call that grid line 6 in north. You can see the loading docks, the generator. There's 2 transformers that serve portions of the building in this area. As well, you can see the rooftop units that are kind of nested in the roof enclosures in, again, area E, F, and A. This is an aerial view looking east. You can see we have entrances on the north of the building as it relates to ticket applications, and then, of course, the egress is on the south, and then, again, the main entrance in the middle we call area C. This would be a view looking northwest from the opposing parking lot from the first slide. You can see the tube steel columns that will accept the shrouds that will protect those rooftop units that we spoke of, and then again the translucent panels from our owner-contractor meeting on Wednesday. They indicated that installation will begin as early as tomorrow. This is a view looking southwest at area E. Again, that's a ticket area. That glass has began installations from this photo. This was taken about 2 weeks ago, but the glasses began to be installed in that curtain wall frame. This is a view looking southeast.
Again, we have ticket entrance, and that glass is scheduled to begin in that lower section there, in that pink area, which is a weather barrier, to begin next week. This is a view looking south from Centennial Plaza. Yesterday, we completed the east portion of this cast, so this has now been cast. We're scheduled to pour on Friday some of the area on the east side, kind of by that compactor there. And then again, the aprons were cast earlier this morning to the main doors. This is a view looking south again at the back area, back of house. And this is a view looking to the north at the main entrance of Area C. This is a view looking to the west, standing from Area D with our back to that large overhead door on the east elevation, and we're looking west. You can see that probably 2/3, maybe a little more, of the final light fixtures are burning, so we have building permanent power. You can see some of the large ductwork that is about to finish, including painting at the west ends. This is a view that we were just looking at, opposing the opposite direction to the east. This is a view inside the kitchen. You can see to the right there some of the hoods that are hanging. Since this photo was taken about 10 days ago, we've since applied sheetrock to one side of the co-form metal framing partitions. Thought this would be an interesting view for many. We're doing our load testing from the rigging mounts on the rigid frames. There's approximately 7 per rigid frame, and so this exercise or scope that was required in the contract documents took a total of about 10 contiguous days. But what they're doing there, they're loading those hooks to confirm compliance with the documents as it relates to the ability for the expo to be able to support loads as vendors may need. Change order number 16 had 6 items. We had signage power from a previous change order request and approval. We had signage package that were approved, and this is the power for that, including the low voltage interface. Mechanical fire dampers. On the north elevation, we have 2 egress ways, and these are fire dampers that are required to be compliant as we penetrate those rated separations. The backfill at the Expo Hall floor boxes, that's some updates to correct some backfill at those floor boxes we've seen in those photos previously. There was an upcharge for the colored concrete. We had poured, or we had cast 2 different mock-ups, and through many opinions and approvals, it was confirmed that the third and final was the selection, and so there was an upcharge for that color. We had some unforeseen conditions at Centennial Plaza. When the demolition began, there was discovered an abandoned domestic water well, and then we had 2 sign footings that were probably 30 to 36 inches in diameter and about probably 7 feet long that had to be removed. And then blocking it, preformed metal panel cladding. On the face, on the south elevation of the building, we have a canted, what we call a knife edge, a canted soffit, and it has a striated pre-finished metal panel. And that panel had a tendency, due to the striations or the weakening in the face of the metal, to have a cupping in it. We went through several different discussions, including the manufacturer of the panel, the president, met us on site. We had several discussions after that, and it came to, it seemed to us to be the most reasonable solution was to put a small block of expanded polystyrene, kind of like a styrofoam cup, in the ends of each of the panels, and that's what this involves, and it worked. Construction contract amount, original amount, you can see then through change order number 16 the figures for a total up to 4.14 of the original contract amount through 16. And then this is the construction FF&E budgets that are listed. Project schedule with 16 did not request any days. Any questions?
Questions?
Any update on the paint remediation? Is that all working well?
Yes, sir. The paint remediation has completed through all sequences. We had a total of 7 sequences. It has been completed. and we're now just going back through and doing minor touch-up that will lead us into substantial completion, and there will probably even be some more after substantial completion due to just slight damage in completion of the project. For example, the loading on the load hooks caused some damage to the paint, which will have to be corrected, but it's going well.
Well, thank you, Wes, for the presentation. He has included in his presentation what is the next item on our agenda, which is item 11, and that is a resolution that we approve change order number 16 that he included in his presentation. Bob, we have a recommendation from the subcommittee.
I have a recommendation from the subcommittee that it be approved.
Do you move that?
I so move.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That resolution for that proposed change order is approved. The next one, I guess David was not included in Wes's presentation. You want to tell us about it?
That's correct. Item 12 is recommend resolution awarding and approving contract and bonds with McLean Holdings, LLC, DBA Vital Signs of Oklahoma, Maps 3 Oklahoma State Fairgrounds, Expo Building signage, total bid plus unit price $17,000, project M3-F002C. I think the first thing that you'll see is the tabulation of bids, and McLean Holdings was at $17,000. The next bidder is at $42,000, and you can see that, well, I'm sorry, $41,000, but the next three bidders are all clustered together there, and that always brings up questions when we see something like that. So our staff did extensive research on the McLean Holdings and has found that they've done a lot of projects around here, including Topgolf and some others, and no complaints, and we feel fine with their bid and recommend it.
Wow. A much lower bid. This is good news. Bob?
Now, would move approval. The committee obviously had the same question that David just mentioned. You look at it and you shake your head, how can it be that low? And are there quality issues, or should it raise a flag to us? But we were assured in our meeting yesterday that this has been thoroughly researched. This is a local company, and apparently do a very good job at what they do. It's a small business and very effective and able to do it at a much lower price than the other bidders. So it's a wonderful win-win for us to get a high-quality product at a much lower price.
Shall we approve it?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution before you. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. That brings us to item number 13. David?
Item 13 is recommend resolution accepting project M3-R005A, Maps 3, Oklahoma River, Phase 2, Project 2 improvements, and placing the maintenance bond into effect. This is the Phase 2 improvements at the river, which included sound system. It included the starting towers, the lane marking system, the docks, just all the extra pieces out there that help make the race course what it is. So we're ready to final that.
All right. Are there questions? D? Was it considered by your subcommittee? Great. All right. All right. It's been moved that we approve it. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. David, do we have any new business today?
I do not.
All right, that brings us to, that was item 14, then item 15. We've heard from most of the subcommittees today. Is there a subcommittee that has another item for us to consider today? All right, then that brings us to item 16. You have in your packet the detailed informational items that you've all had a chance to review. Any questions about any of those that you have for David or the staff that need to be considered today?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just mention that item A is information back to this board about the the lease agreement with the school district.
Yes.
We talked about this within the Senior Wellness Subcommittee. We had a lease agreement that had gone through subcommittee and the advisory board and went to the school board, and they had issues with approving that, and we got down to the point where we needed to award the construction contractor. We were going to have to rebid that project. So we made an agreement with the district with some things that they wanted, and that is some additional parking, and we assume that will come out of maybe additional collections or contingency or something like that. This new lease extended the lease term also from 50 to 75 years, but we will be building some parking down there as replacement parking for the high school.
Sue, anything from your subcommittee? Okay. All right. Are there questions about any of the other items? All right, then. That brings us then to David, any additional updates that you need to provide us with?
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out that the Whitewater facility was opened last month, and it's been a great success. The Road to Rio, as far as I know, was a great success. I attended that. It was a great event. The facility is up and running. We just need to get some warm weather. We've had unseasonably cold weather. Senior Wellness, as you saw, we have Wellness Center 1 under construction. We have Wellness Center 2 that just began construction this week. And then we have the RFP for the operator for Wellness Center 3 is out on the street with a due date of June 14th. Trails and sidewalks, Phase 2, the trails, the I-44 corridor is in design and acquiring right-of-way and will be out to bid soon. Phase 3 trails, which is around Lake Draper, is in design. Phase 2 sidewalks are essentially complete, and you'll be seeing finals on those coming up soon. Phase 3 sidewalks, Project 1 and 2, are acquiring right-of-way and will be out very soon, and Phase 4 sidewalks are in design. Convention Center, the site acquisition is underway and going very well. Design is underway and going very well also. A coordination between the Convention Center and the park and the streetcar is also underway. You saw the update on the building at the fairgrounds. And then as far as park, the design of the upper park continues with utility relocations that we talked about briefly. If you go down towards the park site, you'll see just piles and piles of dirt and rock and all the pipe and everything that's being moved, and preliminary design of the lower park is underway. Kim asked me to apologize. She couldn't be here today. She had a crisis come up, as we all know happens with work here and there, and at the last minute the crisis held her. She just wanted to point out that she's excited about the utility coordination that ADG showed this morning, and then also she wanted me to mention the Hargraves Award for their 2016 National Design Award, the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum. I believe that was in the paper. Then streetcar, remind you that track has been ordered, streetcars have been ordered, and mainline construction is in design, and you saw the update on the maintenance facility that will be out to bid shortly.
Very good. Any questions for David? Well,
I have one question I'd like to ask David about.
Yes.
David, when we had the ribbon cutting for the Whitewater kayaking park, Mr. Knopp had mentioned that several people had commented about how the water was kind of red, looked like it came right out of the river, and he mentioned that we have a filter system that's in place. Is that beginning to work yet? Because the last few times I've been out there, it's still kind of riverish looking.
It's still very turbid, and they just started working on that today with an alternate method. The filtration system that's in the pump house itself is really not to do that kind of filtration, that heavy of a load. And just remind you that the turbidity that's in there is from a couple of things. Well, three things. All the wind that we had in April, a lot of it was blown in. We had a lot of bare ground that was still there before they could get the saw down. And we had some pretty good rains in April, and some of it washed in there. And then there was just usual construction dirt that was in there. Today they started with a new device that is essentially a large swimming pool vacuum. It's I think it's about 60 inches wide or so, and they're working on that this morning to start getting that out. If you go there in the mornings, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning before they turn the pumps on, you'll see that all the silt and dirt has fallen out of suspension and is sitting on the bottom of the pool. And the water for 3 or 4 feet is really clear. But when they turn the pumps back on, it stirs all that back up. So we're confident that as that settles to the bottom of the pool, that this new device that they've built will be able to just basically sweep that out, like I said, like a pool, like you would with your algae or debris. So we are working on that.
All right. I wanted to just refresh your memory that on next Tuesday, the 31st, there is an appreciation day for all the volunteers that work on maps, including all of you here, and the subcommittees. It'll be out at the new Riversport Rapids facility, beginning at 4:30, hosted by the mayor and the city council, and I hope that each of you will be able to make it. And I just add my word of thanks for the great work you've done. We're celebrating 6 years, and so great work, and hope that you can be there. Anything from staff? Amanda, we doing okay? All right. This is an opportunity for any citizens that are here that would like to make a comment. Anyone here want to be heard? If not, shall we adjourn? Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor say aye. We're adjourned. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.